Okay, 4 o'clock rock. Woo! Tricia Medeiros. She's really a fun person. She's the COO of the Plaza Assisted Living. Period. That's it. That's the name of the company.
That's it. Yeah.
Okay, and this is, if you hadn't noticed, this is Aging with Grace. And we feel there is a distinct relationship between the Plaza Assisted Living and Aging with Grace. I'm going to call this the Plaza Does It All.
Okay.
Because we like what the Plaza does. Okay, and you have the incredible distinction of being the first employee of the Plaza Assisted Living.
That is true.
How did you do that at the age of 15?
Yeah. You're so nice. It's a little bit older than that. I'm originally from Hawaii, and I had moved to the mainland and went to college and got involved in assisted living.
In college?
In college.
You knew then?
I'm
What
going
made
to tell
you
you a
know
secret.
then? Yes.
I was supposed to be an accountant. I was a cost accountant at a meat packing company.
Yeah, oh wow.
I know, exciting. And one of the workers said, hey, my wife is looking for a business office manager in an assisted living facility, and you should go and apply. And I did, and I got the job, and I didn't even know what assisted living was. And so on my first day, we went to New York, and we went to an assisted living facility, and I thought, oh, we're going to take care of seniors. Okay. And so I kind of just happened into this role, fell in love with it. And when I graduated college and should have gone on to be an accountant somewhere,
Meatpacking.
Yes, or somebody's books, I couldn't help but stay, and I became an administrator and stayed in an assisted living industry. And at some point decided I need to move back home. And I didn't have a job. I just came back home. My family's here. And literally a month after I moved back, they were looking for an administrator for a brand new assisted living facility. And I said, that's my job.
Wow.
Yeah.
Kismet.
Yes, that's exactly what I felt like.
Well, that is great. And you are such a happy person. You're fun to be around, Tricia. May I say that?
Yes,
Say that.
say that.
So this, which means you like people a lot. I can tell that. And so this part of the program. So what do you have to know to be you? Little accounting would help. What else?
I think you have to know how to deal with people. And so I place a lot of importance on 3 different relationships in this building or in this business. One is your relationship with the residents. You gotta like seniors, they need to like you. You need to also have good relationships with families. Because in our business, you're not only taking care of the resident, you're taking care of their family.
Absolutely.
And then the third person is your employees. And we want to create, I can't be the one that takes care of all the residents. So we take care of the staff, they take care of the residents. And you want to be able to motivate them, inspire them, and let them come up with the ideas and the creativity. So I'm
have confidence in
that.
them.
And they'll deliver because they are attracted to this business for a reason too. They want a purposeful job. They want to help people. And it's our job to make sure they can deliver that. So it's really about relationships that make people successful in this business.
It's so funny. I was a lawyer for a long time, and we just joked about the real estate market. We would say the real estate market is not about land. It's not about real estate. It's about relationships. Everything is about relationships, but especially your business, because you hold the lives of your tenants, clients, whatever you call them, in your hands, and you can make them great lives. Every day is a blessing, or maybe not. And you have to look around and see there are alternatives that maybe don't work so well. So okay, so what is it now to be a COO? We have a COO.
Yeah.
I think it's different though.
Okay.
What is it like to be a COO of the Plaza Assisted Living? What do you do all day?
What do I do all day is, well, hopefully I inspire people to do their jobs. I think forward as to what's changing in assisted living and what can we do to make it different, better. As the baby boomers, everyone talks about the baby boomers, but as they approach, I think their needs are different. And we want to be forward thinking in how, because right now we're marketing to them for their parents. So we getting a little taste of what they're going to want, because their parents don't want the same thing.
Yeah.
So we want to look ahead into the future and decide, hey, what is our future seniors going to want, and what do we need to deliver to them?
So smart. You did well in school, didn't you?
Kind of.
All right. I'm not going to ask anything more than that. So, okay, so what did you find about the boomers? I mean, what bead are you getting on the boomers? What do they want? What do they need? What do they like as a group? Because I'm a boomer.
Mm-hmm. You know, the residents that we take care of now are savers. They don't want to spend extra. They're very humble. They aren't as expressive about what their needs and wants are. Most of the time, they kind of, oh, whatever my son or daughter wants, I will go with the flow. The boomers that are coming in are going to be, I want what's right for me. I want individualized care. Their food and dining options are going to be very different. Their activities, technology will really start to play a role in our communities as the boomers come, because they are tech savvy and they do have their iPads, and they're very different than their parents.
Yeah.
So it's a coming.
Yeah, and you have to keep them engaged.
Yes.
And it's not that easy when they got all these expectations.
Yes.
They want to have a regular life in the assisted living facility.
Right.
They want to be able to go out and do the same kind of stuff. Maybe they don't have the physical strength to do that, but they do want to do it. Yeah.
Correct. And that's what we're trying to deliver. We want them not to come to our communities and be taken care of. We want them to come to our communities and us deliver enough care for them to be independent and for them to make their own choices and live an independent lifestyle, even though in the background we're kind of helping them do that.
That's wonderful, actually. You know, I was going to tell you the story I started telling you before we began the show about sort of, let's see, this was the mother of a friend of mine.
Okay.
The mother-in-law of a friend of mine, and she was a very classy lady. She lived in California, but she had spent plenty of time in Hawaii in her earlier years, and it was time to retire. It was time for assisted living of some kind, and she came here in, I want to say, 1985 or 90. I'd go back, and she looked for a place to stay. And she had all her friends looking for a place to stay. And there was no place that was even close to suiting her. And she wasn't that hard to satisfy, but there was no place on the horizon. And that seems to have changed now. We have, among others, the Plaza Assisted Living. You have 5 facilities.
5
this
locations.
Is a major event, you know, in the, what do you want to call it, in the industry, so to speak.
Correct.
That now, if my friend's mother-in-law came here looking, she would definitely find something.
She'd have a couple options.
Yeah. So this is, you know, there was a huge need.
Correct. And that's actually the basis of how our company got started.
Yeah.
We had some owners that had parents that needed help, and they ultimately found placement in an assisted living, had a great life, got remarried, and had a purposeful retirement. And the other one kind of struggled because they were in Hawaii looking for options. It was very limited. So it was that same scenario that sparked the creation of the Plaza Assisted Living. And the fact that we have these locations, we believe that either families or residents want to live in their familiar neighborhoods. And so we're purposely locating these communities in these little neighborhoods.
What a smart idea that is, really. It's because it becomes then, it's not remote as an, you know, remote institution sort of thing, way down.
It's part of the community.
It's right, and you can walk down the street and say hi to people, and you can feel like you live in a neighborhood, and maybe even make friends inside and outside of the facility.
And most of the time, they walk in and see, oh, didn't we do that? Didn't we coach together? Didn't we work together? So it is familiar when they walk in.
Yeah, I really like that idea. Now you have, this is one of my favorite parts of the story about
Okay.
you have 5 facilities. And I looked at the pictures, and recently, you know, we did a thing about retirement, about aging with grace, and we included you guys in our little movie for OC16, because we had photographs of all your facilities. But you have 5 of them. You have at Punch Bowl, at Mililani, at Mauna at Pearl City, and
Waikiki.
this past year at Waikiki.
Like a couple of months ago.
A couple of months ago, yeah.
Yeah.
And all this is started in 2004. The first one was in Punch
Yeah.
Bowl, and you sort of worked up to Waikiki a couple months ago. Why those neighborhoods? Why 5? What's the map look like? Here, I'll show you the map.
Yeah. That's the map.
Okay. This is the map. Can we look at the map here? This is covering Oahu. It's quite something. Covering Oahu. Okay, why these 5 neighborhoods?
Punch Bowl at the time, and it was the first community, was interesting because some of the options weren't that close to medical appointments. It wasn't close to shopping, and that location ended up, the key to that success was it was close to a number of hospitals, it's close to shopping. Kids work downtown, could easily come visit after work.
Yeah.
And so that became a very strategic location because of its accessibility. And then when we were talking to folks and trying to understand, we always heard was, I wish you were in Mililani. Oh, I wish you were in Pearl City, where they live. And we realized that people wanted to live in their familiar neighborhoods.
Like where they lived before.
Right.
Down the block, maybe.
They didn't want to have to, if you lived in Mililani, you didn't want to all of a sudden be a
know the
townie.
territory.
Yeah. And so the east side had some retirement communities, and so we started moving over, and there was an opportunity at Mililani where there was a piece of ground. It was located next to Olaloa, which is a retirement community for independent residents. And it just seemed like, hey, here's a great second community. And people were really excited. And Moana Lua, the third.
And by that time, the Mililani was like 6 years after.
It took a little while from 1 to 2.
You had learned a whole bunch of stuff about how to do this, so you could take those lessons and put them in the second unit.
Yeah, and I believe every community improves because we learn a lot of things as we progress.
Yeah.
Moana Lua ended up being interesting because it's really accessible from H1. It's right where H3 comes, and it became really convenient. And at that point, we started realizing, people would leave Punch Bowl to go to Moana Lua because that's their neighborhood, or they left to go to Mililani because that's where they grew up or wanted to live or their son lived. Yeah. And we started looking at, wow, people are moving in from that immediate radius. And so we start looking, okay, where are people living? They live in Pearl City, They live in Waikiki, and lots of seniors in Waikiki, so that only made sense.
It's a really perfect idea, actually. Mm-hmm. You're actually, comporting with the market. You're comporting with the wishes, presumptively the wishes of your clientele, which is just easier on everybody's part, I think. Mm-hmm. Now, tell me about Waikiki. That's the most recent one. And that would reflect all the lessons you ever learned.
Yes, the culmination of everything we learned is at Waikiki.
Well, so what is Waikiki like? Where is it first? Because Waikiki is some pretty expensive real estate, yeah?
It is. And we were really lucky because we ended up purchasing that piece of ground from PBS. And I think that they were motivated to find a really honorable use for the land.
Nonprofit.
And so it was a nice marriage. And if you are familiar with the old Hard Rock Cafe,
yes,
which is currently the Honolulu Coffee Company,
yes,
there used to be a recycling lot that sat between there and the Ala Line.
Right next to Hard Rock Cafe, right? Beyond the parking lot, right?
It is no longer a recycling place. It's the home of the Plaza at Waikiki. And it's a beautiful building. It's right across the convention center. We like to say that it's at the gateway.
Oh, here we have a picture of it. Yeah.
The gateway to Waikiki, because as you enter into Waikiki, you'll see the building on the left.
Uh-huh.
But it's
I like the architecture, by the way.
Yeah.
It's not overpowering. There's a certain human scale to it. In fact, that's so for all of your projects. There's a certain human scale. It doesn't blow you away with institutionality.
Right, and honestly, when you walk into the communities, it kind of feels a little resortish. It looks like a hotel or a large home. It's not meant to feel clinical. It's to feel like their home, and it is. It's an apartment complex for seniors, and we have some services. We will cook your meals, and you can do some activities, and there's a group of people that you can always go down and have coffee with, and it's a community within itself.
Okay, I want to talk about those amenities with you, and also compare how they work in the different 5 places, unless they're all the same, which I doubt. I think there's probably differences. Right after this break, we'll take a short break. This is Tricia Medeiros, is the COO of the Plaza Assisted Living here on Aging with Grace, and we're talking about the Plaza. The Plaza does it all. We'll be right back.
Aloha, I'm Kili'i Akina, president of the Grassroot Institute and host on Ehana Kako, a weekly program on the Think Tech Hawaii broadcast network. Ehana Kako means let's work together. Think of the sad alternative, let's not work together. Here in Hawaii, with all of our diversity and the richness of the people, it's important for us to come together around issues on the basis of what's right and what's good and what's going to serve the common good. And that's what we try to do at Ehana Kako. Every week we interview movers and shakers, people in government, business, and other sectors of society to talk about how to create together a better government, economy, a better world here in Hawaii that can bless the rest of the world. I thank you for your attention to Think Tech Hawaii, and we look forward to seeing you every Monday, 2 to 3 p.m. on the Think Tech Hawaii broadcast network. We're Ehana Kako, and we wish you well. Aloha.
Okay, we're back, we're live. It's 4 o'clock rock. We're having a great time with Tricia Medeiros, COO of the Plaza Assisted Living. This is really fun and interesting. Because the reason I'm so up on this is because you're up, and because this is so important for Hawaii, for the bell curve. We'll talk about that later. Okay, so we have various amenities. You named some of them. Let's go into more detail.
Okay.
So you have meals. What's it like?
So we have a chef at each one of our properties, and the meals, while they are reviewed through a registered dietitian to make sure that they're balanced and appropriate for seniors.
So if I have low sodium, you can
low
help me.
sodium, no added sugar, those are the most popular ones.
Okay.
And we want people to be happy about their meals, and we really pride ourselves on how well our food service is, but we do it through portion control. So instead of serving bland food, boring food,
Great idea.
we just portion
Everybody
the food.
wins.
Correct.
First it's about relationships, then it's about food.
Then it's about food. Well, food is 3 times a day.
Yeah.
It's the culmination of social activity because you're there with your table mates. And a lot of these people didn't go out to dinner every night at restaurants. They ate at home. And so it became important to us because most of our residents are local, that we have local flavor on there. And I'm trying to think, some of our popular items are, we'll have a local moco, and we will have
Of course.
a sushi burrito for breakfast.
That's wonderful.
And, adobo.
Ever let the public in to eat?
We do.
Is that
well,
right?
their families come all
I
the
can
time.
take my wife for a dinner?
And we have done that in the past. We'll cater parties for the residents and birthday parties. We try and have buffets and bring in families
so cool.
every other month, if not every month, and special occasion and events. And that's when they really kind of get to show off their skills and go a little crazy.
Food is so important,
It is.
really, in your life, especially if you're retired and you're, relatively speaking, you're sedentary. The food really becomes important.
Yeah.
And the small portion, that is a great idea.
So you can still get dessert. It might be a smaller
Small, it's
piece of
okay.
cake, but
Everybody
you're going to
wins,
get your
yeah.
dessert.
Okay, so 24-hour staff available. What does that mean?
Well, we have to live under certain regulations. And we feel that it's important that we have professional staff 24 hours a day. So while we're not required to do that, we'll always have a nurse on staff that can answer to you. We also take the extra step to license the entire building. So even though we have this independent section and those residents don't really need too many services, we still want to license those beds.
What does that mean, license?
That means that through the Department of Health, we license each bed. That way we can deliver care. So you might be living in our community and receiving no services, just there for social reasons or meals and housekeeping, and you get ill. we can't deliver you nursing care unless you're in a licensed bed.
Oh, so you're preparing
So
for
we
the possibility.
license every bed in order for us to deliver care at any time to you. And you wouldn't have to move to another section or move out temporarily. And if there is an emergency in the middle of the night, the nurse can come up to your apartment and take care of you. So the professional staff also, whether it's an LPN or an RN, we feel that it's important that those are the individuals that are delivering medication to you.
Yeah.
That it's a licensed person and not a trained person.
Yeah. What about doctors?
So we have doctors that come in. Every resident has to have a primary care physician.
Smart.
We don't have doctors on staff, but the doctors come in our buildings, podiatrists come in our buildings. We have lab work. We have PT, OT, speech.
So I can take my lab test right there.
Yep.
And I can make an appointment with the doctor right there.
Yep.
When he makes his rounds and all that. That's great.
So we
too.
try and bring as many services into the community.
But I have to have a health insurance to cover that. That's my obligation, yeah,
For the doctor, yes.
for the doctor, but not for the nurse.
Not for the nurse.
Okay. Suppose I get really ditzy,
Yeah.
and I can't really take care of myself very well.
We can't help but ditzy. But let's say your memory starts to
Some
slip
people
a
think
little
I'm
bit.
ditzy now, but let's not talk about
We do have a memory care neighborhood
Yeah.
where residents that are forgetful and maybe they have some Alzheimer's disease or some other torpid dementia. And in that area, we provide memory care services.
I love that. It's a great euphemism, the best ever.
Yeah.
Memory care services, okay. So what do you do for me? What is memory care services?
Memory, it's not unlike the other services that we provide in the building. It's still 3 meals and housekeeping and linen services, but there is a kind of specialty care involved in memory care. Residents there have a shorter attention span. Some of the activities that we offer in our regular assisted living might not be appropriate, so we change those activities. The training that we provide the staff, behavior management techniques, those type of things are really a specialized care that we provide in memory care.
So if I cross that line, you just put me in another kind of type of care, the memory care
And we
category.
do that because that neighborhood is secured. So if you had a loved one that was living at home, but they decide to take a walk or a journey every
The
day
old
and
story. Yeah.
can't get back, or that's what we call an elopement.
Elopement.
An elopement. It's
Another
a nice
great
way of saying they
euphemism.
escaped.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Do you think of these things? It's really
No,
good.
it's pretty. I would like to take credit, but no. The memory care is a security that we could prevent elopement.
Yeah, good. Perfect. Okay, exercise and activities, that's really important, because I have come to the conclusion that if you just do sedentary, your life ain't as good or long.
No, it's pretty short. We, at all of our communities, they offer 2 different exercise programs. And some of it is your general exercise, maybe some light weights for strength and endurance, but that can get old. So we have changed things up. Sometimes we offer Zumba, we offer Tai Chi. I think one of our most unique exercise programs is Hula Burn. So the creator...
Let's just say Hula Burn.
Yeah, Hula Burn.
What
so
is
the
that?
creator of Hula Burn actually works for us in our activities department. And what it is, it's an actual cardio routine that she created based on hula movements. And if you're really good at hula, you can kind of break a sweat doing it.
Another gift from Hawaii to the world.
Yeah. So we perform Hula Burn as an activity, a physical activity at some of our communities.
Very cool. Okay. Weekly housekeeping, what does that mean?
Well, we have a housekeeping staff that comes in. They'll dust and polish your furniture. They'll clean your kitchen and your bathroom, change your linens. We can even do your personal laundry. So it's just one task or chore that you don't have to worry about anymore. We take care of it.
Cool. So all of that housekeeping stuff, that's handled for me. I don't have to worry
Correct.
about it. Okay, and scheduled transportation, that means to go out on
Excursions.
visits. Excursions is
Yeah.
the word I'm looking
So
at.
it's both. I mean, if you just needed a ride for medical appointments, we can provide that. But we also have a schedule. We have a cow club, so they go out to lunch.
Cool.
They'll go to the movies. They'll go on a walk. They'll go, basically it changes from every community because it depends on what those residents want to do.
That's what I wanted to ask you about. So we went through 6 general categories, yeah, of service that you offer, amenities and whatnot. So how do they differ between the 5 locations? As saying they're not exactly, you can't. How do they differ, if at all?
Those same amenities are at every community. The meals, the housekeeping, those things. What changes is because there's a group of residents that have different needs and wants, is what activities and what items are on the menu. Our menu is pretty extensive. There's a handful of chef specials. And then there's an always available menu, and they carefully watch it. If we put a taco salad on the menu and 3 people order it, taco salad's not coming back on the menu.
Yeah.
And they'll play with those choices. Now, the same thing that's popular at one community is not popular at another community. So we're constantly listening to the residents and making changes on the fly so that we can satisfy them. Same thing with activities. Bingo might be the most popular activity at one community and the others don't like it. We find, at Waikiki, they were interesting. They started their own players club. They wanted a lot of training and learning courses, and that was different than maybe some of our other communities that kind of well, I'd like to sit back and be entertained. At one point, we used to have a cooking class. And we were like, okay, everybody come cook. And no one really liked the cooking part. They just liked the eating part at the end. And so we said, okay, well, that's not very successful. So every community is a little bit different.
So you're listening. You're faithful
Yeah.
to what they want in that community. That's great. So you don't get into an institutional thing where everything must be the same. This is terrific. So should I select one of these 5 properties, 5 projects on the basis of that, or on location, or a combination? How do I select my place?
I think most people select it based on location, but not all of them do.
Yeah.
And they have different feels. Waikiki feels very urban and contemporary. Yeah. And if you lived in Waikiki in one of the high rises, it feels very similar.
Yes.
When you go out to Pearl City, when you go out to Mililani, it's a little more country, and it feels different. And that's probably very appealing to those folks, obviously. So I think most people end up picking on location, but they do have different programs, so maybe that's not your only reason.
Do you ever crisscross? Do you ever
Yes.
take a busload from one project to another and have a barn
tournament
dance or something?
I always wanted to do that. I was like, let's compete in Senior Olympics. And so maybe that's the future of what's going to happen now that we've been putting up all these communities.
Yeah.
But funny is, because Punch Bowl was the original community, whenever we have a new one, they always want to take an excursion and check it out.
Check it out.
So a couple times I walked out of a community, I'd be up at Mililani, I'd be like, hey, that's the other community's bus, and they're just kind of scoping things out.
Do people ever want to move?
They do.
They do. And do they?
And they do.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
Well, for example, when we open up a new community to a new neighborhood, that might have been where if they were originally from Waikiki, they might have moved into Punch Bowl. And now that Waikiki opens, they want to transfer. So it does happen, and most of the time it's because we didn't have a community in their original neighborhood.
One other question I wanted to ask you is how large are these communities? How many people are they all roughly the same size?
They're roughly the same. Our smallest community is 128 beds, and our largest community is 160 beds.
What, beds?
Beds. So instead of apartments, there are on our care floors, on our memory care neighborhood and our assisted living neighborhoods, sometimes we have a companion situation where 2 unrelated people live together. Roommates. And we do that to help drive down the cost. Our focus is to service moderate income residents. So these aren't low income residents. These aren't the top wealth pyramid these are moderate income folks. Maybe they worked at Pearl Harbor. We have a lot of teachers. So just people that thought about their retirement. And so if you're living in your independent apartment and you now need extra care or special care or memory care, and you transfer to our memory care neighborhood, if you're in a companion suite, it allows that cost to kind of stay similar.
It also gives you a buddy to talk to. No?
Yeah, it does.
I mean, I went to college. Roommates are good.
Yeah.
You went to college. Roommates are good.
Roommates are good. I married my roommate.
Okay. Well, all right, okay. I'm going to leave that right there.
Yeah.
But so I guess the question is, are you going to build another one? Is this an infinite kind of chain of facilities?
I don't know about infinite, but there's been some talk about possibly Kaneohe as a future site.
Yeah, there's not much in Kaneohe.
And I live on the windward side, so I would really appreciate having a facility on that side.
Yeah, for your own self.
Yes.
But you don't have to do that right away.
No.
Okay, well, I mean, so it's not a closed system at 5. It could be.
It could be
bigger. And before we take the break, let me ask you. This is a different business model than Arcadia and Kahala Nui. Because there you have to divest yourself and enter into some kind of an investment arrangement with them of one kind or another, where you give them either a bundle of money or you divest everything to them, and then they promise to take care of you. That's the Arcadia.
Yeah, so Arcadia, Kahala Nui, they tend to be CCRCs or continuum retirement communities. There is a large entrance or buy-in fee, but it also comes with a life care contract, and you can kind of graduate through their program.
And the life care is going to include medical.
Correct.
Not
everything.
Okay, it could, but it doesn't necessarily.
Yes.
Okay.
We're set up for folks that really shouldn't be living alone, but they're not quite ready for the nursing home, so they might need some services, but they can kind of get around and manage, because we're just fostering their independence, and it is a rental situation. So it's just a month.
That's different than the others.
It is. So it's a month-to-month rental.
Very creative idea.
You can leave any time with 30 days notice. You don't have that large buy-in fee in the front end, and it's just set up for a different type of person.
Yeah. Can you give me parameters on how much it is going to cost me when I move in?
A big range would be somewhere from $4,000 would be like an independent studio or 1 bedroom, up to, let's say, $7,000 or $8,000 might be a private room with the highest level of nursing care. On average, people are around the $5,000 range.
Mm-hmm. Okay, $60,000 a year, essentially. Okay, let's take a short break. When I come back, I want to talk to you about the daily experience of the individual client or resident, so to speak. And I also want to talk to you about where this fits in the larger scheme of handling the boomers and the generations to follow, because you guys are thinking about that. I know you are, and it's really important. We'll be right back.
Aloha, welcome to Think Tech Hawaii. My name is Josh Green. I'm the host of a program called Healthcare in Hawaii. I'm a physician. I work in the emergency department on the Big Island. I also serve in the state senate, which, please don't hold that against me, doesn't detract from my television program. We speak about all the big healthcare issues in the state. We get together on Tuesdays from 2 o'clock till 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and we try to talk about the most important issues in healthcare. This is a terrific venue for people to learn about healthcare. There are many programs on this station. We broadcast it later, not just on the internet, but also on OC16. Thanks for joining us. Please be informed healthcare consumers.
Bingo! So I asked you during the break. The breaks are the best part of the show, and it's too bad you can't hear, all the breaks. I said to Tricia, you talk to the people there? Do you walk around and say hi?
No, I say no.
And make jokes and smile?
Yeah.
Because you're a person who likes people, obviously. And so how do you do that? You just say, sort of walk through a building and say hello to everybody?
I'm in the communities all the time. I just say hi. It's easier for me at some of the older communities because I service those residents, or I took care of those residents. That's why you're in this business, because you like people. Yeah,
really. I visited, in one of our way back shows, I visited a very small care home. It was in Mililani. It was a young fellow whose family had been doing this for a generation or two, and he actually built a home, fairly large home, and divided it up into, units. And he had, probably 6 or 8 people living there. And one thing I noticed is that they sat around and watched television all day, which I think is really not very good. I mean, it's cheap to operate that because you only need a television. But, you know, in terms of giving them a quality of life, we talked about this. So the question is, my experience now, I move into the Plaza at Waikiki. What's it like when I get up? And how is
You're
it
going to
like?
watch television all day.
No,
Nah,
I'm
just
not going to do that. I promise you. A computer, maybe. ThinkTech, I could watch ThinkTech all day. And I'm going to give you some discs of our stuff, and you can play them in your theater.
Yes, we will.
And people will really like them, especially at 2 in the morning. They're best at 2 in the morning, and they keep you up.
Yes.
This show. Okay, what's my life like?
You have a sense of independence because you're living in a community in your own apartment. So you have a little kitchenette and your own bathroom, and it is kind of apartment style living. So you have this sense of independence and an opportunity to be alone. And one thing that I said to you before the meeting is, if your mom wasn't social before, she grew up as a recluse, she doesn't turn 80, move into an assisted living community, and become a social butterfly. And so it's important for us in the beginning to kind of know what the needs and wants are of individuals. And so if someone grew up their whole life and all they did was watch TV, chances are when they become a senior, they're going to watch TV. But what we want to do is for those folks that aren't doing social activities because they don't have an opportunity, they come a little home locked, that they have the opportunity to go out. And so most residents, they come down for breakfast, they order off of a menu, and they'll have a half a papaya and some oatmeal or eggs and bacon or whatever it may be for that morning. And then the exercise classes start right away. And so they'll go to exercise, or they might have a current events before breakfast. And
What's a current event?
I mean, that's just, hey, what's local in the paper and what's going on.
Wow.
So it's just kind of an opportunity to engage.
Yeah.
And sometimes it might be some spicy conversations, but it's good. It's healthy, and they don't all agree.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
So you organize this.
We organize
You make this happen.
We make this happen.
Lovely.
Yeah. And a lot of activities in the building happen organically. A group of residents that like Mahjong will go and play Mahjong. And those are the best type of activities because
They don't play for money, do they?
Well, they play... They don't play for money, but sometimes bingo at some of our communities is for money. Sometimes it's for plaza bucks, but it can get a little, that can get a little spicy too.
Okay.
But they'll have a full schedule of activities from breakfast to dinner. Like I said, they'll go on Cow Club, they play the Wii, they have a computer lab. But I love it when...
Computer lab?
Yeah.
So I can go do computer stuff
That
too.
is starting to become more popular. And
With the new generation.
Yes. So some of the younger residents come in and they have their own computer and they have their own setup in their apartment.
Cool, yeah.
But we want to give them an opportunity to kind of experience that if they don't have that chance.
Yeah.
They will participate. I mean, sometimes it's arts and crafts. Sometimes it's, we had a really interesting project that one of our administrators had started last year, and it was called Photo Voice. And on our YouTube channel has this really great movie that explains Photo Voice. But we took a group of residents together, we gave them the simplest digital cameras we could find, gave them a class about how to use it, which was interesting, and then we sent them on the bus to go take pictures. And then we exhibited all their pictures all over town and in the communities.
Yeah.
And it was so great to see their perspective of what a day in their life looked like.
Yeah.
And so this year we'll do video voice and do the same thing maybe with video cameras, but it's those kind of unique opportunities that they wouldn't have had at home that they'll have. And one thing about our size is we have enough economies of scale that we can offer multiple choices for every meal and multiple activities for them to go on. And in the smaller communities, sometimes that works well for some folks, but whatever's for dinner is for dinner, So this gives them a chance to have lots of opportunities. And they don't do everything every day, but it's available.
Sure, it's like when I went to summer camp, we would sit in the morning and decide as a group what we wanted to do that day. And we were empowered in that way.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you're empowering people to make good choices and to do creative things. And creativity is really the finest way to spend your time on the planet anyway.
Right.
So all these little things. But you mentioned something called your YouTube channel?
We have
You have a YouTube channel?
well, the Plaza.
We have a YouTube channel.
Well, our YouTube channel and your YouTube channel should get together.
Yeah.
Yes. We have a YouTube, the Plaza Assisted Living has a YouTube channel, and there's some videos on there. You should check it out. But the photo voice, I think, is the most entertaining one of all, because it's cute to see the residents learning how to use the camera and then their progress to their, you
And
know,
showing it off to others.
their
Yeah.
videos. Yeah.
Okay, in the last part of our discussion, I want to go macro with you and
Okay.
talk about, you know, the community. When I first met my wife, she took me for a trip to Kauai, where she came from, and we looked at the retirement community, if you will, in Kaloa, Kauai. And people lived, the older people lived in a kind of holler. It was. And little green, you know, buildings with tin roofs and all that. It was charming. And the community, the people in the community supported them that way. They made these buildings and they offered them to stay there free, and they stayed there free in that little community, sort of behind the general store in Kaloa, right? That's the way it was. And I was so impressed with, you know, everybody would take care of the kupuna. We're a long way from there. That ended a long time ago. And now, you know, we have facilities that may not be sufficient going forward for, you know, the bell curve going forward. We're going to have a lot of people in this state. We're already, you know, average age is way high, and life expectancy is going up. It's 82 now, average life expectancy in Hawaii. So are we going to be able to handle it? What are we as a community going to do to manage our kupuna going forward?
What we're doing right now, we can't manage it. We will have to, as a community, change what we're doing to handle what's coming in. And there should be lots of options. You know, assisted living is just one option, but we need nursing homes, we need community-based care, because everyone has different needs. Some people want to stay at home, and they should be able to put a plan together for them to stay at home. Some people are social people, and they want an environment like an assisted living facility. So we need to make lots of plans as a community, and in some sense, as individuals, you need to make your plan of how your retirement's going to be, and it can't be dependent on Social Security. You have to retire, whether that's long-term care insurance or savings or whatever it may be. You need to take ownership. There's, you know, a lot of people have this concept, this misconception that the government or Medicaid's going to take care of me when I'm older. And the truth is, Medicare doesn't pay for long-term care. Medicare is like an insurance policy
Health.
for when you're sick. Yeah. And, you know, they'll pay for your hospital stay or your doctor's visit, but they don't pay for where you're going to live and stay if you need a nursing home. And Medicaid is not the solution to your retirement either. And so we have to take our own responsibility about what do I want when I get older. And baby boomers are kind of good at that, right? Because they're very specific about what they want. So as individuals, we have to look at what our own personal retirement plans are going to be.
You bet, but you know what I worry about?
What?
Tell me if you worry about this. We as a community, you know, have the duty to provide facilities for our kupuna. We have the duty to do that. And yes, you can plan, and you'd be better off if you do, but some people don't. And at the end of the day, you know, facilities to take care of kupunas are not cheap. They're not cheap on the business end, the investor side, and they're not cheap on the tenant side, the client side. Can we, as a community, afford to keep our kupuna? And if not, what do we as a community do to help solve that problem?
Well,
I never promised you a rose garden. That's not an easy question.
No, that's not an easy question, because I don't know what the right answer is specifically. But I do think that engaging in those conversations and challenging ourselves as well as our government about what is the plan and how are we going to handle this. Because the funny thing is, no one really cares about it until they have to deal with it. And so for most of us, that first experience is with their parents, right? So once you have to take care, there's an incident with your parent, then you start going, oh, what happens when this happens to me? But that doesn't happen till you're 50, 60 years old and your parents are 70 and 80. Or you have to deal with it within yourself. And so you're a little late coming to what your plan's going to be when you have to deal with these situations. So maybe educating our young people, making them more sensitive to aging issues is important, because, you know, the profession of geriatrics is diminishing. And I don't
Isn't
know.
that true? There are fewer geriatric doctors all
Absolutely.
the time. Yeah.
And, you know, at 17, I don't know if you decide, oh, I'm going to take care of seniors is the sexiest thing that you can think of when you're 17.
Not likely.
The other thing is, and more important to me, is it too scary? You know, people, their grandparents are young these days. And so a elderly senior sometimes is scary. So one of the things that we combated with that is one of our administrators collaborated with Iolani School, and they actually wrote an aging sensitivity book that we published. And we donate the proceeds to Project Anna, but we wanted to, at a very young age, expose youth to seniors and make it less scary. And hopefully we continue this project that as through the years, we can show kids how they can help seniors and how seniors can help them and really build some intergenerational programming. So the story's kind of funny, right? There's a young girl and she says, why do you have that funny stick, which is a cane? And they're like, oh, this is how we pull bananas off the tree. And oh, why do you wear glasses? And we explain all these things that might seem scary. And in the end, you know, they make banana bread and it's, you know, a great outcome. And we hope to expose youth to geriatrics so we can build together. So maybe part of it is exposing our youth to senior issues and allow them to come up with the great ideas to fix the problem.
Brilliant. And we didn't rehearse this.
No, not at all.
That's Tricia Medeiros, the CEO of the Plaza Assisted Living. Aging with Grace here. The Plaza does it all, and so do you, Tricia. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Thanks for having me.